So we've created the profile string, and now what we want to do is to have the left edge of bitumen of existing road crown be positioned horizontally onto the profile string, but then also use the elevations or the vertical geometry of that profile string. To do that, we have to apply a design variation, and this is the last design variation we're going to review within this particular course. What we're going to do is to use the design variations through the cross-section window, and we're going to open up a cross-section window at around about chainage 180. So to do this, we're going to go up to the vertical grading pull down, click on section window, and then we're going to do 2 clicks. One is to confirm we want to see a cross-section of our existing road crown, so that's the first click, and then the second click is roughly near chainage 180. Just going to move the cross-section window to one side. Now, I haven't got chainage 180 open, I've got 175, so I'm simply going to flick one cross-section to the right to open up 180. And I'm just going to zoom in. And again, you do the same thing. Make sure that, as with all the lessons within this particular course, that you always have your cross-section open at a nice scale, and it's not all scrunched up into the corner. You can open that up and see what's happening. Have a look at your display exaggeration and make sure it's set to a reasonable value in there as well. Whilst we're in the display tab, we're going to do something that we did during the variations module. That is to display the position of an alignment within the cross-section window. So to do this, we're going to click on the Display Other Objects button, and then in the form, we're going to complete the next available row. The first column, we always choose all. We don't have to go ahead and pick the string. The second column, we're going to choose an alignment. The third column, we're actually going to pick the profile string alignment, and that should be at the very top of the list, called Existing Road Offset Left Side. Now, wherever this alignment occurs, along existing road crown, I'd like to see it, so I'm going to put in 0 to a large value, and then click OK. That's now displaying the alignment position. And what's going to happen is our left edge of bitumen will be on top of that blue line. In respect of elevation though, what would be handy is to actually see the elevation of the profile string also on top of that alignment. And we can do that through the same form. So we're going to go to the Display Other Objects button, going to find the next available row, pick all. Then in the second column, we're going to pick String Level, and go ahead and pick Existing Road Offset Left Side, which will be down the bottom of the list. Then we're going to say wherever it exists, I'd like to see it, put in a large value, and then click OK. You should now see a pink dot. This pink dot represents the vertical geometry or the elevation of our profile string. So very shortly, the left edge of bitumen will inherit not only the position of the alignment, but the elevation of that profile string. To show you how this works, I'm going to open up the vertical design of our profile string and show you how this looks. So we're going to go up to the vertical grading button. You don't need to do this yourself, you can simply just watch this on the screen. I'm going to left click close to the string that we've got created and just move this to one side. If you are following along, feel free to use multiple screens. Now you can see we've got a cross section open at exactly where we have an IP, and that's very convenient. So what I'm going to do is to move that IP up and down and see what happens in the cross-section window. So we're going to just keep an eye on this little pink dot. So I'm going to use the Move IP Up and Down button, left click close to this IP here, and I'm going to just left click and release my mouse button and just move my mouse up and down. And as I do that, you'll see that the elevation of the profile string is being represented by that pink dot and updating. Now I'm just going to position the IP just roughly close to the sampled surface and left click. So now we know that that is working as it should. I'm going to close down the vertical grading editor. And now what we're going to do is ask the software to move the left edge of bitumen onto the top of this profile string. So make sure that in the view settings you have codes being shown. So just to double check this, if you click on View Settings, you'll see Show Code. So we're going to be moving the LEB code. So we keep an eye on the code down the bottom here to make sure that LEB is the code that we're closest to. And when we're closest to it, we can right-click, Add Variation, Modify Section, and we're going to say Match Code to String. So the start chainage and end chainage can remain as they are. Even though our profile string terminates much earlier than this, it doesn't matter because the software will only move the LEB where the profile string exists. The code we're going to move is LEB, and we'd like to change the offset and the level. So we'd like to move the offset position onto the alignment and then use the elevations of the profile string. So all we need to do is now tell it what string to use. Existing road, offset, left side. Once you've selected it, click Apply. Now, what we're going to do is keep the cross-section window open if you want, and we're going to zoom out and have a look at what's going on. So you can see the widening has occurred. One thing you'll notice down the bottom though is that the intersection hasn't updated. So traditionally, we would recommend that you click on the Auto Model button from the ribbon. So go ahead and do that now. Now what you may find is that Auto Model updates, but your line work or your curve turn hasn't updated. There's another button on the Edit panel which will help us just refresh the line work prior to the model being updated. That is this button up here. This is an Update All Road Objects or Road Strings button. Okay, so there's no harm at any point during your design process clicking on this particular button. So go ahead and do that now. You'll get a text file appear on screen, which you can choose to remove, but you can see there that the line work has now updated and is matching in. Let's just go back up to chainage 180. Before we begin to look at the elevations of this profile string, because you can see clearly there we have some extremely sharp crossfalls on our carriageway, before we begin to review that, you'll notice that some of the line work around chainage 180 and 190 in particular doesn't actually match up to the alignment. So we're now going to review how we can actually sort this out using section sample lines and sampling.